everybody. Yeah, my name's Ken. I'm the owner of the Garden Center, and today's class is going to be on drip irrigation. Not just drip, just irrigation. How to be more efficient with watering. Let's do that. So I've got more than just the technical aspects. We'll get really into this as far as how to put a drip irrigation system in, or micro irrigation. And then we'll go over some plants that are low water, and then we'll go over some other techniques. If you're traveling, you're going to go on that cruise to the Panama Canal for 2 weeks. How do you make sure your houseplant's still alive? We'll go over some of that stuff too. So you'll be definitely making mistakes in the right direction with your irrigation after this class. I hope that's our goal. Now, I've been doing this for like 25 years. The biggest mistake I find folks make, they're coming from other parts of the country that don't use drip irrigation, and they're thinking that drip is like their pop-up sprinkler heads on their lawn from the Midwest, or their bubbler system like in California, or you folks from the south or Northwest, you're really in trouble because you think it rains all the time and we can just flood everything, and plants will like that. Plants don't like that. The secret with irrigation, start with number one. The secret is plants have to breathe. If I were to take you and put you in a pool, keep you down there for about 10 minutes, how would you look at the end of that? Your plants don't like to be submerged into water either. They give off oxygen at their foliage mass, but they have to have oxygen at their roots. If we fill in every little part, all the particles, we fill all the space with water molecules, the plant will have root rot. So the secret is lots of water when you irrigate them, and then let them dry out. They need to go dry. Seems to be a hard thing for folks when they first get started. This is super efficient watering. So the next step is, and we'll go over more details of that, just want to put it out there right off the bat. The second thing is, this is micro irrigation. The average emitter that you have in your yard, if you had a contractor put it in, the number one emitter is 1 gallon per hour. And so you need to leave that system running for an entire hour. This is hard for Californians, okay? You've had that bubbler, shrubler flow, you just flood irrigate everything. Phoenix, the old water right area, they just flood the whole thing with a foot of water once a month and they're all set. That is not how drip irrigation works. Drip irrigation is, you run it for an hour and you just gave, out of that one emitter, you gave that plant 1 gallon of water. If you've got a 15-gallon tree that you just put in the ground, it needs 15 gallons of water a week. How long do you need to run your drip system to get enough water onto that tree? 15 hours. Or you'll put multiple emitters on there. Or you upsize the emitter. We'll go over all that detail. So you need to get out of this rhythm of, I'm tired of talking to folks where, oh, I run it every day for 15 minutes. That is absolutely terrible for your plants. In fact, if we go into drought, we kind of cycle into drought, then we go into so much water we don't know what to do with. That's the mountains of Arizona. You either have too much or not enough. What will happen is, if you're watering like that, your plants will become very, very shallow rooted. You're just getting that water only penetrates, I don't know, maybe an inch or two. So you're killing off all the deep roots because you never give it enough irrigation. You never leave the system on long enough. And so you just have them every day for 15 minutes. You get this real shallow rooted shrub or tree. As soon as we cycle into drought, that thing will die because it doesn't have enough root mass to keep it going through the hard times. So anyway, that's kind of think in terms of, and we'll go into detail with that, how long to run things after we get into how to put it all together. Now, here's my niche in the marketplace. Okay, we don't cater to just everyone. I don't want all the business. I just want to make you all, my friends, happy. And so our drip irrigation parts, I've curated the best and easiest to use parts, or the more true to their ratings. So they're pressure compensated. We'll go over into all that detail too. So I don't have in-ground valves. you go down to Pro Water Irrigation for that, or Ewing Irrigation out in Prescott Valley. So you got to go to. I'm just. What's it doing? Giving us grief.
I think that's your
running out of
battery.
batteries. We'll see. So I may have to switch.
Just
Anyway,
talk louder.
So I'm into. You've got your irrigation system already in, but the gophers ate a hole into it. Can you get me a part that will fix that and bring it all together? That's what I do. Or I want to add to my system and extend it so I can put another row out. Or I want to put another plant and just the distribution line is already out there. I want to put another emitter out there. That's what I'm trying to help you add to. Or if I want a patio, I'm traveling, I want my container gardens to be taken care of and have computers run it, but I don't want to pay a contractor to come out and put a whole new valve in the ground, and that's quite expensive. I just want to do it myself. Okay, that's what I mainly do here. So don't come and ask me for every kind of emitter part. I only have the best one. I don't have them all, and I'm going to go over which ones are better and why you want to use those. Okay. So here's the main thing you need. I built a manifold. A manifold is how do I attach it to my water source and get it to where I can distribute it out into the yard. That's what this is, a manifold. Many times they're in the ground. This one is made to go on the hose bed, have a computer run the irrigation coming on and off, and then here's the secret. You need to filter your water. This has got a fine mesh screen in it. If you don't screen your water before it goes out in the system, these drip emitters have very tiny orifice, just a tiny watering hole. And so anything can clog it up. A little bit of grit, sand, and if you start filtering your water, you'll be amazed at how dirty your water is. It's almost frightening. So, but if you don't screen it, you'll have a lot of maintenance to your system, and the emitter heads will clog up. So if you're having issues with your emitters not running, that's probably why. I'll ask you, do you have a filter? And you'll go, no. I go, well, here, you need one. Here it is. The other secret is you cannot run drip irrigation at regular house pressure, 45 to 65 pounds per square inch. That's usually what you're running the showers, your washer and dryer, just the regular hose bed. Is at about 50 pounds per square inch. You will blow your emitter heads off. You'll have leaks. You'll have just waste. What will happen? You have a lot of maintenance because the emitter is just running at too much pressure. It needs to be 30 pounds or less. You need to cut that house pressure in half. I would say 15 to 30 pounds per square inch. That's the sweet spot for drip irrigation pressure. If you have it down in that pressure, you don't need any glue. You don't need fancy Teflon tape. You don't need plumber's putty. You just stick them. They're just all barbed. They just stick together and anyone can do them. Super easy to put together. If you have them at too much high pressure, that regular house pressure, all of a sudden you've got leaks, things are coming apart. It's just a problem. So we've picked a part here. Again, I'm after the best. I want easy, I want short manifolds, not something that's like this long coming off your hose bib and you're competing with the ground. So I picked a pressure reducing valve that has a filter in it already. So this is all built into one. So this comes off the hose, this just screws right onto your house hose bib. It's got a battery operated clock, 9-volt battery will run it for the entire season. Comes out and transitions to a filter and a pressure reducing valve. So we get down to, this happens to be at 30 pounds per square inch. And then you attach your main distribution line. This is your main distribution line. Also, sometimes it's called half-inch line. The funny thing is, there's 3 or 4 manufacturers of half-inch line. None of them are actually half-inch. This is the most common, so we picked the most, what the contractors mainly use. I'm trying to get it as close as I can to what you might have in your yard. But Depot has a little bit smaller diameter. They're going for price point. The contractors use a 0.62. They're a little bit larger, so they get a little bit longer runs down hills and valleys. But when you get this out there, you want to make this, get within 25 feet of your main plants with this. You want to get close out in the yard. This is what takes the water out into the yard into places. You can have up to 500 feet of distribution line. That's important.
Per valve?
Per valve, 500 feet. If you got to go over 500 feet, you want to add another valve. So don't go over 500 or your pressure starts, it's going so far out there that the pressure is very light at the very end of the run, and just you don't have enough pressure to get all your emitters going. So 500 feet, okay? So the question was, can I use bigger emitters at the end? No, there's no pressure at the end. After 500 feet, there's no water left. It's all being used to get it out there and push it. So just trust me. Just don't go over 500 feet. Now hold on. No questions. Otherwise, a video will not look good. So at the end, we'll do questions, okay? Just stare. We'll get questions. I'll leave, because this is technical. I know we'll have some questions, so especially the front row. Okay? No questions till the end. 500 feet. You can have up to, while we're getting the ratios on there, this is called spaghetti tubing or quarter-inch tubing. You'll hear it by two words. It's quarter-inch line. You can have up to 25 feet of this line, no more. After 25 feet, you just don't have enough pressure to get the emitter out to your plants. Okay, so just stay. That's a lot of flex. Most of you are not going to use over 500 feet. That's a long. That's a long ways. Okay, 25 feet. If you need to go over 25 feet of this, you need to have your distribution line getting closer to that hedgerow or closer to that fruit tree or closer to that privacy screen, whatever it is. You need to get a little bit closer. So this half-inch line we'll see if I'm strong enough. You just kind of go right in there and it just squeezes right in there. And then the strongest man in the bunch is, some of you look pretty buff, you can't get that thing out of there. I mean, it's just stuck. And if you're under 30 pounds per square inch, it will not leak. Guaranteed. It's just not going to leak. So that's how. And the fittings that we're using. So we're using this Rainbird emitter head. We chose this one specifically because it's easier to bring things together. Some of the contractor grades are, they're a quarter less expensive. But you got to be Superman to get the thing on there. It's ridiculous how strong you got to be to get the thing on there. And this one is put together by Rainbird, fancy engineering. It brings multiple diameter half-inch tubing together. So no matter what half-inch you have in your yard, this fitting will go on there. Okay. I don't know how many times I've had customers go off going, "Oh, I thought it was the right one, it wasn't. Now I got to go get the other one." So you're making multiple trips to True Value to get the 3 different emitters that they have, or couplers. This one just does it all. No guesswork's out of it. So that's the reason we chose this one. Mainly because as I get older, I used to be able to bring anything together. I'm not as strong as I used to be. And so this one is the one I use. And I want my friends to use the same, so I just use this one to bring it all together, okay? So anyway, this just runs out there. There you go. You could set this thing up, put it on your hose bib, run it out there, put emitters in there, and it could do your container gardens, your raised bed, your vegetable garden. Now, this is the main line running out into the yard. At the very end, you need to plug this or it won't create back pressure. A lot of folks will use they call it a figure 8, where you just take it like this, bend it back, and that kinks it. Okay, contractors, if you're hiring them to come out and do it, this is what they're going to use. I don't care for this one myself, because at the end of these lines, even with a filter on it, you will still have grit and stuff and minerals just build up. And the emitters, if you don't take this and flush it out and run clean water through that once a year, at the end of the year, beginning of the year, flush it, these emitters at the very end of the run will start to clog up on you. This is just school of hard knocks, what I've learned over the years. So I generally don't like this particular end cap. I prefer Let's see if I've got my right, yeah, I've got it here. I prefer this one. This is just a regular coupler that you bring two pieces of pipe together with. Only has this flushing end cap that quickly snaps in and out. So it makes it very, very easy to flush your emitters. Use this. It's worth the extra 99 cents to make your lives easier for the next years down the road as you start to flush this system out every year. This is by far a better system. But you'll need that at the very end to create back pressure, okay? Now you can have, in fact I brought all the parts. You'll see a natural curve to this 1/2 inch line. It'll bend about that much, but sometimes you need to go to the patio and kind of make a turn and go around the house and or down the walkway, or you need to make tight turns. Use a 90 degree. Don't let it. Use a 90 degree elbow. What I also find, again, this is School of Hard Knocks, it looks fine in the spring when you put this thing together, but then as summer hits and it starts to warm up, it was a nice curve, all of a sudden it starts to kink on you. So don't be afraid of using elbows. Elbows are your friend. They'll keep you from having headaches down the road. So that just, again, you just cut it, splice it right in there, it just pushes right in, and all of a sudden you're making the turn. They've got T's. Oh, you see how I am? You got T's, elbows, couplers, and then an end cap for a cap for flushing end cap. Okay, so those are your main parts for 1/2 inch. This is not rocket science. You don't have to be really complicated. Thank you very much. And anyone can do it. Okay. The big mistake I find newbies make. They'll take this part here, which is the part that goes onto the hose, and they'll just have a coupler come right off. They just have their line, 1/2 inch line going right here, right out in the yard, without pressure reducing valves, without filters. They just go shortcut right here, and they come back about summertime. They're going, I just am frustrated. Emitters are closing up. I've got all these leaks. It's just a problem. Well, it's because you took too many shortcuts. You need to spend the extra 50 bucks or whatever it is, have your filters, your pressure reducing valves, because it takes the guesswork out of it. Makes it so much easier to maintain down the road. Okay, so don't just go this, put the extra few parts on. It'll make a difference. The other one is, God allowed man to create computers. We want to make sure we get this on film. We mentioned the word God, right? It's Easter Sunday. So that he can run computers to run irrigation. Have a computer run your irrigation for you. And we got this science. It's out there. It's just so easy. It's a $50 clock. And here we've got one here. I put this one on right here. This part. Great little timer. 9-volt battery runs this. You can program it to do anything you want. And I don't know how many customers I've had go on and manually turn it on, and they forgot it was running because it's running for hours. And then, the next day, they go, oh yeah, like where's all that water coming from? It's really, the clocks. These make life really easy. Here's the mistake you'll make if you start going down this path. If you're going to use a battery-operated clock, do not leave this connected through the winter. You have to pull it about Halloween. Otherwise, you will get some freezing, and the water that's inside this valve will expand, and it'll bust this thing up to a dozen pieces. You turn on the next spring, and it will just start leaking. So pull these. You want to put them on after we're out of the risk of freezing. Frost is okay. It's freezing that gets it. So by mid-April thank you. I had I pruned back my Cecil pruner roses yesterday.
Oh no.
You know what Cecil pruners are? These are 12, 15-foot roses by 15-foot high. It got me, so it's like I'm scarred up beyond belief. And now I got this, it like ripped my lip off. And so now it's like even hard to talk because it's like trying to scab over while you're talking. Ah! Stupid rose. Actually, it's beautiful. When it is in bloom, it is spectacular. So anyway, Okay, let's go over emitters and emitter types. Okay, let me just pass. If you want to, you can take a look at these. You can pass them around and take a look. See at the end, just put them on the ground back there someplace. I've got another bit. Let's just go over the 1/4 inch parts. And there's only really 3/4 inch parts. They're exactly like the 1/2 inch, only they're 1/4 inch. Couplers brings two pieces together, or it allows you to go into the main distribution line. We'll show you that in a second. They have elbows. Again, these are tiny parts, and they have T's. So if you've got a big tree, you want to go out and you don't want to run it for 15 hours, frequently we'll take a T at the end of that 1/4 inch line. We'll throw that into the very end. And I'll actually I'll take some more back here. We'll just do this. And I'll just make a T where I can get multiple emitters at the end of that run, so I can water a tree or a bigger 1/2 inch line. So here I'll take this. The T came out the end, so I'm out to my tree. I want to have more water than just that one emitter will allow me to do. I'll put multiple emitters on there. So I'll just push these together. And then I'll put my emitters on the end of these. Now all of a sudden I've got two. You can go up to about, let's see, it's 25 gallons per hour just with no emitters, how much a 1/4 inch line will make. So you can have up to about 10 emitters on one 1/4 inch line. Does that make sense? You'll know when you have too many emitters, because all of a sudden that 11th emitter won't run any water on it. You'll be out of pressure. And so you'll know it's almost unlimited how many emitters you can have on one distribution line. As long as you're not going over 25 feet. Keep it under 25 feet, you've got a lot of options. You go over 25 feet and you go, dang it, I can barely run one emitter. Okay, does it make sense? So feel free to double up. I think larger 5 gallons. I'll go up to 1 emitter for 1 gallon emitters for 1 gallon size plants, little plants like this. I would just use 1 drip emitter. If I'm going with a drought hardy 5 gallon plant, like this Spanish or Scotch broom, these are super efficient and they smell so good. Crazy drought hardy. Okay, if you're going to kill this, it will be, I overwatered it. I watered it every day for 15 minutes. This thing is certain death. Here, if it's drought hardy, I'll put 1 emitter. I'll put probably a 2 gallon emitter. I'll go over exact emitter size in a minute. If it's anything bigger than a 5 gallon, they start 7, 10, 15, 24 inch box. They start to get more emitter heads the larger the size of the plant. Just I'm trying to get more water on. So I'll just do this. At the end, I'll just add emitters until I get enough what I want. Okay, we'll show you how to do the math in just a minute. All right, let's go over emitter heads now. So we chose this emitter head because it's the only emitter head I use. So you get to use what I use. There's not a lot of choices. They make flag emitters. They've got a little flag at the end. Those are terrible. They say they're great because you can clean them out, but they're not pressure compensated. So in the mountains of Arizona, we've got grade change. Even in Prescott Valley, at a relatively flat yard, but there was enough grade change where hydraulics, water gets very heavy very quickly. So at the bottom of the hill, you'll have much more pressure, so more flow out of that emitter head than at the top of the hill where the pressure is very light. So you want to use pressure compensated emitters. That's exactly what this is, pressure compensated. So it's more true to its rating. It'll be accurate at the bottom of the hill, it's the same at the top of the hill. So, and this one has a self-cleaning feature. So if it gets grit or snails or earwigs lay eggs inside this little emitter, it'll flush that out. So the water goes in, swirls, and then comes out. So it's got multiple benefits. Pressure compensating mainly, but then it's self-cleaning. So you'll find that this is a problem. Your emitters, if you get the wrong emitter, will be high maintenance because you're having to clean them all the time, or they just flow too much. These come in 3 different sizes. You'll see half gallon per hour is red. So it runs for an hour. You only got a half gallon of water on that plant. Came out of this emitter. You've got black, which is the standard. This is 1 gallon per hour. This is the norm. If you're not sure what you have, more than likely 1 gallon per hour. For myself, I prefer, or what I use, I mainly use 2 gallon per hour. The reason I use this one, green is 2 gallon per hour. The reason, the orifice is twice the size of a 1 gallon, and so I have less maintenance, less likely to clog, less problems. So I find I try to use my 2 gallon per hour just for maintenance reasons. I don't want to be a slave to my irrigation system. Having to maintain. Now once a year I do go through and I check it, but I don't want to have to check it every month just to see if the snails and slugs have clogged up the smaller emitter heads. So that's just this gardener. You may have a different way that you approach that, but this gardener uses 2 gallon per hour just for maintenance. Okay. What I don't care for, my #1 seller by far, is the adjustable emitters. This actually has an emitter head, and you can click it. You can actually adjust it, and it goes from 1 to 10 gallons per hour, depending on how you open it up. So you can actually adjustable flow it. I don't like my entire system with this, because when you adjust this one open to 10, it changes this one over here. It's not pressure compensated, and as you open it here, the pressure within the system changes. So you can never quite get it adjusted right. So a lot of folks get fooled into using these, because now they don't have to tee off and have multiple heads. They can just use one and have a troubler kind of effect. I think this is a really good spot. This is a really good emitter. If you've got that hedgerow, let's say Arizona cypress or a photinia, and you moved in, the contractor put it in 10 years ago. This obviously is lacking some water. It needs to upsize the amount of the quantity the emitters are putting out there now. If I don't want to go through and tee off and add more emitters, I can just cut that one off that was there years ago. I can put this one on and adjust it up a little bit higher, and it seems to be a good way to go. But if you have an entire system of nothing but these, you won't like it. So go with more of the fixed emitter heads. It'll be more true to that pressure down the road. Okay. So that's my #1 seller. I'd rather not sell these. I'd rather sell the 2 gallon per hour emitter heads, just so it's easier down the road to put a lot of the emitter heads. We should go over how many emitters can you have on one system. 500. It's a lot. It's almost unlimited. Unless you've got really heavy grades. Sometimes you've got really heavy, you've got a really steep yard, that can play with it some. It's virtually unlimited how many emitters you can have. I would love you to buy that many plants. You'd have to have that many emitters, because I got 2 kids to get through college yet. But I have a feeling you're going to be just fine with the 100 emitters you're going to put out there. No problem to run on one system. Okay. Let's go over trees, shrubs, flowers, perennials, vegetables, all on the same system. Some of you were handed a curse. You bought that short sale, foreclosure, it had a drip emitter, a system in there, it has 1 valve. And now you're trying to run everything off the 1 valve. That is a real challenge. You really need to have multiple valves. Your trees and shrubs should be on one system. Your flowers on another, your lawn on another, you should separate it out. That will allow you to be much more efficient and make all the plants happy. If you're coming to me and asking, how do I get my system adjusted just right, and I've got everything on one drip system, your trees and shrubs will be terribly overwatered. They won't be happy. And your flowers will be thirsty all the time. So nothing will ever be happy on that system. There's no way to truly get it. I can get you close, but there's no way to truly, the only way to truly make them happy is to have two valves or 3 valves. I've got 8. I've got a half-acre lot up in Eagle Ridge. I've got 8 different valves because I like to micro everything. My back container gardens, I have a lot of them. They're on their own clock, their own system, own adjustment. The shrubs are on their own. Trees and shrubs are all on one system. All the deep-rooted stuff. The flowers, I'm a flower grower. So I have lots of perennials. Lots of drought-hardy perennials. So eucalyptus, echinaceas, those are all down. I've got it lower into the yard or higher into the yard. So I've got them on separate systems so I can adjust them accordingly. I've got more shade up here, more full sun down here, so I can adjust that. In the front yard, I've got 4 different systems. Now I've got 5 just for the front yard. I've got a thyme lawn that just hits on its own thing. It's low water, very efficient thyme lawn. The roses are on their own system. The front landscape at the front, right at the street, they're on their own system. And then the containers at the front yard, they're on their own. So don't be afraid to add another valve. I think it's okay. It makes the plants super happy, and I use far less water by doing that. Okay. So, questions on emitters? Then we can go over exact plants. Okay. Yeah.
The pressure-compensated emitters. What about freezing ice?
Pressure-compensated emitters.
Don't they have a diaphragm?
Do they freeze? This is pressure-compensated. I find they don't freeze. They're fine. And I run my system year-round. I never turn it off.
How do they work? Is it diaphragm?
It'll actually, once the pressure goes off, it releases. It just starts to open up. It's fine. Yeah. So it does. The only time I have real issues with my own, this is my own system, because I'm running it year-round. I do think you need to water all 12 months of the year here in Arizona, in Prescott, Arizona. In the Central Highlands of Yavapai County, you need to water every month of the year. If you don't water midwinter, you see how dry we are? We get a snowstorm and then nothing for 6-8 weeks. That's the way it is. It's either feast or famine. And so plants cannot go in this kind of weather. It's very mild. They're using irrigation. They're using moisture, especially your evergreens, your photinias, euonymus, silverberries, your spruce and pine. They're still perspiring. They're still using moisture. You need to rehydrate that. If you don't, you'll get winter burn or winter kill. The tops will burn off, will die back. It's a self-pruning or preservation thing that the plants do. So what I do find, I'll go out in the spring. I've already gone through and tuned my system up. Sometimes water will settle in these T's and elbows, and then it'll freeze, crack, and I'll get some leakage on some of my elbows. Not very often, but about one of these a year I'll find I have to replace. It's real easy. You just cut it off and you just bring it together and glue it together. Or not glue it, but just bring it together. So, but it's pretty rare, and there's no consistency with it. The thing's been out there for 4 years. All of a sudden it decided this year to freeze and break. I don't know why this year, it just did. But it's my half-inch lines, this piece right here, that seemed to break. It's a $1.99 piece. It's real easy to replace. It's worth the headache with that, okay? I do not bury my lines. If I do, well, I do bury it where people are looking at it, where you can see it, but it's barely scratched in the ground. I'm not down to that 18-inch by code level where your house water is. I'm just barely under the ground so that I can find it easier when I want to add a plant. So I want to follow that trip emitter back and go, where did the main line come from? Where's the main distribution line? This guy right here. I'll put barely any soil on top of it. And when it's along a fence line, I just lay it right on top of the ground. I don't bury it all. If you can't see it, I'm not going to do the energy to, I'm a lazy gardener. I'm just going to lay it on top of the ground so I can poke a emitter in there and be done. Okay? So, and I find that this will last 10, 15 years when completely exposed to sun. It doesn't seem to be an issue. The sun, it lasts. Eventually it's going to get brittle and crack and break. I don't care if it's below ground, above ground, it's going to break and crack, and systems get old. Some of you have 20-year-old systems in your backyard. It's time to abandon ship and lay out a new line. It's just not worth the headache. The plastic is too stiff, it's too hard to bring together, and so sometimes it's time to put in a new one. Okay? We do make, this is what I use to to water my thyme lawn, I actually laid this, they call it soaker hose. So what we've done is we've embedded a 1 gallon per hour emitter every 12 inches into the line. It's actually built into this 1/4 inch line. And so I buried this just barely underneath the ground. I buried it and I pinned it down, and then I ran it, and wherever I saw a wet spot, I plugged my thyme plugs because I wanted super low water, no mowing. My kids are going off to college. The last thing I want to do is power up the lawnmower every week. And so thyme lawns, I mow it twice a year, and I water it every 7 to 10 days, and I'm done. And it blooms many at a time. So this is what I use. Vegetable gardens, use that great for tomatoes, lettuce rows. This is a great way to go for lines of plants. You can go up to about, what does it say, 30 pounds? You can go up to, it says maximum length 33 feet. I find I can't go over about 20 feet or so, and I start to run out. The emitters at this end of the run are not keeping up, and just I find I can't go over more than about 20 feet. Technically it says 33. So anyway, soaker hose. You just plug this in with your coupler, with your 1/4 inch line, plugs into your main distribution, and you put a goof plug at the very end just to clog it up, or you bend it over. So you need to create some back pressure. So soaker hose. All right, some tools you need to have. Some things you really want. I brought my own. This is my own from home. It's just a cheesy Tupperware deal. I don't know. This is I've got all these drip parts in there. Just get any bucket, any container, just I walk around, it's got all my stuff. And I can go through and maintain the emitters. You'll find that if you have extra parts, it's a good thing. Put them in something like this, because it makes it easier to just go out there and maintain your system. In here I've got, I used to have this pipe cutter. You need a pipe cutter. Pruners are okay, but they aren't as sharp as these. These slice right through. I used to carry black in the store. I lost this so many times in the yard. Now I only sell orange. Because you can find them. It's the same thing, it's just bright colors are your friend. As you're out there in the garden, it gets lost in the mulch. Also, I used to sell this particular hole punch for 1/4 inch. It was pretty good, but if you're doing a lot of emitters and your hands it really puts a lot of pressure on your hands. So I've switched to, that's the greatest hole punch ever. The way this works,
What's it called?
it's just a hole punch, but it goes into the palm of your hand. And so your contractors, they've got one that, just a little tiny orange thing that pokes a hole in. It doesn't actually take a piece of pipe out, so it can be harder to get your 1/4 inch line in there. This one actually physically removes a piece of plastic out of here. And so there, you would put your emitter head into there, and now you can, all of a sudden you've got drip emitter right there. Or you put your 1/4 inch line, and see, where did there it is? It's red, I can find it easy. I just like bright colors in the yard. So with that, I don't think, I'm starting to use up all my parts, but there I can go ahead and physically put my 1/4 inch line here, and then have my main distribution line going out to the plant, up to 25 feet away. So just get this close, then your distribution line or your spaghetti tubing will get you to the actual plant. Okay, and with those dimensions, that'll help you get right in there. You're honed right in. Okay, I think we're close. Let's go over how to water. Shall we? Pull out that business card. We'll get to the question in just a minute. So the business card, on the back of it, I tried to come down. If you're a plant nerd at all in our place, a horticulturalist, you get a business card. The reason I give you a business card is because the number one question we answer here at the store is, how often should I water? Yeah. About 20 times a day. How often should I water? How often should I water? It's like I'm like a parrot. Follow on a cracker all the time. It's how to water. Well, here's a card. Here's how to do it. And it's made to tape inside your irrigation box, or put it inside your garden journal, or someplace convenient. I'd like you to put it on your refrigerator so you see my logo all the time, but it's a reminder, but it's meant to be a help. You'll notice it's broken down into two phases or 2 seasons. The growing season, which is April through October, that's when things are just waking up. Everything is going crazy right now in April through October. Then you've got the winter season, November through March. Things are just pretty much dormant. You really cut it way back on the irrigation, but you still need to give it. Now here's the secret with setting your clocks with irrigation. You want to figure out how much water do I need to give my plants. Once you figure out how long do I run that system, that variable never has to be figured out again. Then all you're playing with is how many days in between each water cycle. It's going to take the same amount. So you're going to run that drip emitter so it goes to the entire root zone. Once you figure that out, that's how much water it needs in January. That's how much water it needs in March, in June, July. It's the same amount. When you decide your plants need water, it needs that much every time. That seems to be a hard one. If we can get that piece out of the equation, all of a sudden it's not a 3D mathematical problem, it's a 1D. Just how many days do I go in between water cycles? On average, you're going to run your drip systems anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. Okay? Because you got, on average, 1 gallon per hour emitter heads. You need at least 3 hours worth of 3 gallons, or it's not worth turning the system on. You're going to need some water, and you want to do the entire root zone and a little bit more. And so what you'll find is that drip emitter will make a little tiny wet spot where the emitter's coming out, but in the soil it makes kind of a pear shape, like a water drop. It makes that kind of shape in the soil. So you want that water to go all the way through that root zone. It doesn't have to go to China. Plants do not root into the ground deep. They go sideways. They root sideways. That's where the water and the food is in the mountains of Arizona. There's nothing down deep for trees and shrubs to go after, except caliche, clay, rocks, boulders. There's no water, nutrients, or nothing down there for them. They go sideways. Even big natives, they do what I call the hockey stick. They go down about 18 to 24 inches, and they hook, and they start running that way. And that's the reason that native plants don't transplant. If it's just because it's got this 100-foot taproot that goes sideways this way, and you severed the roots here, there's not enough root mass left, and that's why they die in about 6 to 9 months. You can take a manzanita, a pinyon pine, they just don't transplant because they do that hockey stick thing. If you know that's how nature's making them grow here in the mountains, encourage them to grow sideways. Pick up the food and the moisture. Okay, so you want to put your emitters out on either side of the root ball, just at the top, and then root deep. As deep as we can. Okay? So 2 to 3 hours. If it's a flower or something, maybe it's a little shallower. So a little tiny, is a thin cushion flower or scabiosa. That's about as deep as the roots ever go on this one. Maybe you go with a 1 gallon per hour emitter for this, and you only water it for an hour. Well, probably a gallon's about right for this. So that's where it pays to have different valves, so you can run them at different lengths and have different kinds of emitters on them. Okay? So I broke it up into established, just a minute. We broke it up into growing season. We're now powering up our irrigation systems. It's time, turn them on. We might get a frost, it can even snow, but it's not going to freeze. If we do have any kind of cold, it'll be a flash frost. It'll be right at dawn, it'll frost for an hour, and then it's back warm, just like that. If it does snow, it'll be on the ground in the morning. By noon, it will be gone. That's spring in the mountains. So I think it's safe to turn on your irrigations and have them roll. Okay? You're going to water established trees and shrubs once a week. That's all you need. But a deep watering. So if you're watering 2-3 hours at a shot, that should get the entire root zone. It's going to be a while before the soil at this level dries out. It may look crusty at the top, but there's moisture underneath. Don't let our dry climate get you fooled into overwatering. If you're going to make a mistake, it'll be from overwatering, not underwatering. Especially if you're skewing it towards native, drought-hardy, lower maintenance stuff, that's even more so. Okay? Flowers, lawns, vegetables, herbs, they require a little bit more watering. I would say see if you can go with twice a week watering instead of every day. No plants, if they're healthy, they're well rooted, they've been encouraged to be stronger, they should not need water every day. They just shouldn't need that. Even big tomato plants, they should need water every day. See if you can go every other day. Lawns. Okay, we got our Prescott mix, the bluegrass kind of blends. Okay, those are a little higher maintenance. Maybe those are every 2 to 3 days. A fescue lawn, probably twice a week's more than enough. Even the peak of heat in June. If it's a buffalo lawn or blue grommas, those are twice a month. Just very, very low. That's your native grasses, okay? So kind of skew it accordingly. In the winter, you water it the same way, only you're doing it twice a month instead of twice a week. Okay, so you just, same amount of water every time. Just I'm turning it on during a nice warm spot, turn it on, okay? You should be watering at this point when you set up your irrigation, set the clock to water before 8 o'clock in the morning. I start watering 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. My goal is get all the irrigation cycles through so everything is hydrated as we go into the heat of the day. Do not water at night. This is hard for you Scottsdale, Phoenix folks, okay? Don't water at night. We no longer live 10 miles from the sun. It's not going to be 100 degrees at midnight. It's going to be beautiful as soon as the sun goes down. Plants do not dry out in the evening here like they do down in the deserts. So if they stay moist and then they stay wet, they stay humid, you're begging to have powdery mildew, black spot, snails, slugs, all kinds of pestilence, and it'll be on biblical proportions. It will be wipe out the whole plant. If you're watering in the evening, you want to water in the morning. Hydrate the plants so they go through. This is really important for flowers and vegetables. You want to make sure they're hydrated before that heat starts to come out. So I try to get all my irrigation done by 8, 9 o'clock in the morning as best I can. I don't water at midday. Okay. I have been watering the middle of the day through winter because it's usually not frosty. It's not freezing. It rarely freezes middle of the day here in the mountains. So I do adjust it so I'm watering. When I do water, the few times I do irrigate, I'll water midday. That's where it has been. I'm now changing that to early morning. Okay? Questions on that? No, go for it.
Well, it's back to that whole, I think it was first one is pressure compensated, right? It has emitters every 1 inch.
Oh, he's talking about the soaker hose.
Okay, now I want to know.
There's an emitter every 12 inches. Is it pressure compensated? I don't think so. This one is, I don't know, maybe it is, I don't know. I don't know that it matters. When you're using this, usually it's a flat bed. It's a raised bed, it's a vegetable garden. You're not using this on hills.
Okay, my question is, why not use that around trees?
Oh, good question. So his question is, could he use this around trees?
And shrubs.
And you absolutely can use this around trees. It's used often. I've also had folks use it in big pots, big container gardens. They'll make a loop and have it water that way. Personally, for myself, I make this is what I use in my container gardens. This emitter. This is the adjustable emitter, 1 to 10 gallons. But it has and you put your spaghetti tubing right here. But it has a stake that keeps it set in one place. So it's adjustable, but I can make it and I can adjust it so it does the entire container. This is what I use for my container gardens. I find it's hard to get into the ground, in our native ground. You need like a hammer or something to get it in the ground. It's not that effective out in the yard. I use it mainly for my container, maybe raised beds would be a good one. It does, not like a rainbird, it doesn't do this. It just has a shribbler, has a little line that comes out. Anyway, you have to play with it. But that's a good one for container, raised bed, vegetable, that kind of stuff in the back.
How long would you water a fruit tree?
How long would you water a fruit tree?
How
2 to
many
3
gallons?
hours at a shot. And how much? Is that what your question is?
Yes, how many gallons?
Very good. How much? So if I'm planting this plant, it's a 1 gallon plant. This needs 1 gallon per week. Okay? I might water it a couple times, but needs on average about one gallon per week. This is a 2-gallon plant. Okay, 2-gallon bucket. This is going to need 2 gallons per week. 2 gallons. Now, this is a 5-gallon plant. Guess how much water this is going to need? About 5 gallons. 15-gallon tree, about 15 gallons. 24-inch box, about 24 gallons. Okay. As they grow, they're going to need to be upsized because the sheer mass or volume of foliage is going to use more water. It's going to need more to supplement that. Now, the great thing about bigger trees, bigger shrubs, bigger plants, is they also shade their root structure better. So they protect themselves so they don't evaporate off as much. But I do think a big mistake I have a lot of customers make, they planted that thing 5 years ago, and they come in going, what's wrong with my plant? They bring a sample, I go, it's not enough water. It can't be. You gotta be wrong. Well, it's okay, whatever. Why'd you ask? It's not enough water. When was the last time you adjusted your drip system? Well, never. Well, okay. You still got it on 1 gallon per hour. You run it for 3 hours. It's a 10-foot by 10-foot plant still working with 3 gallons of water a week. We do need to cut that emitter off, tee it off, and double down on the emitters, upsize the emitter size. I think we need to tune up our emitters as our plants grow. That's a very, very common mistake. If your irrigation system's over 3-4 years old, it's probably time to adjust that and add some more emitters. In the back. Speak up loud.
Yes. When we remove the computerized timer in the winter,
yes.
Then how are you watering everything?
For me, so the question was, if I'm watering with this computerized timer off the hose bib, how do I water if this thing is off? You manually screw it onto the hose bib and run it manually. So you don't want to put this, or you can put this on and then just make sure it comes off by that evening. For me, all my valves are underground. Professional grade. I mean, it's in ground. You have the box that's in the ground. Pop it up, you'll have multiple emitter valves there. And then I've got a fancy clock in the garage that runs it all. That's how I'm doing it. But here, you can manually turn that on as well. You could also, if you don't want to actually program your clock, let's say it's a professional clock, not battery operated, they've got manual settings. You can just run it for a certain amount of time and not have the computer just go on and off automatically. So you got some flexibility. Also, if it's in the ground, it's got a manual on button just at the valve. You can actually, little adjustment, you can turn it on that way as well. Just don't forget that it's running. So that's a common mistake, you just forget. So yeah.
On your hose bib unit there,
Yes.
most outside hose bibs have a backflow valve on it?
Yes.
Does that have to come off?
No. Okay, so good question. So most hose bibs, it's been the code for the last 20 years or so. You have to have a backflow preventer built into your hose bib at the outside hose bib. It's got this there's different models. Usually there's a little bulbous thing that's on there. I think backflow preventers are good. Just screw it right on there. You don't have to take the backflow off. It's advantageous to have it. So in case there's a drop in street water pressure, all the water that was in this irrigation system doesn't get sucked back into your house where you drink it. That's what a backflow does. So you don't have to take that off. No, leave it on.
I've been told that if you leave one of those on there with constant pressure, if your valve's open 24/7, to run that, then it will defeat the backflow.
Okay, so his question was the backflow, if we leave the water on all the time and it's winter, it could freeze. That is true. So don't leave your water on all the time in midwinter. But during the growing season, we're not going to freeze. We're past freeze now. We might get a frost, we might get a snow, but we will not freeze. Not hardcore. We're past, teens and single digits. That's what's going to take out your hose bibs. Okay, in the back. Yeah.
All right, so every time I hook the hose up to my faucet with the backflow preventer, because of the pressure there, it leaks anytime you put something on the end of your hose, or if I bend my hose back. What's preventing that leak?
Now, backflow preventer, now we're into technical plumbing code. I'm not a plumber, what I found is a backflow, as long as you got pressure on it, doesn't leak. As soon as you take the pressure off, it starts to ooze out and drains all the, it drains what's back into the house. It'll drain that out. So as long as you got pressure on it, it's not going to leak. If you don't have pressure on it, it'll drain it. That's a good thing. Keeps you from having issues down the road. Don't leave it pressurized during the winter. I think we got a theme going there. So, yes.
Okay, you talked about the hose bibs, you haven't talked about, we do an underground system.
Okay, so she's wondering, can she do an underground system? If you do an underground system, if you want to go commercial grade, and you've got the technical savvy to kind of do that, it's not that hard, really. Go talk to Pro Water Irrigation over on Miller Valley Road. They're the Waters Garden Center of irrigation. They have everything. They got contractor grade, they got regular grade. It can be overwhelming, but they'll help you set up the number of valves, help you make the manifolds. Just tell them Ken sent you. They can help you get that in there. You could also take your current system that's in the ground. Let's say you want another, you can adjust your manifold if it was made right. Usually they got it where you could add another valve, another system onto that system that's created correctly. Depends on the contractor that put it together. So they can help you with that. I was hoping to have Bruce here. Problem is getting guest speakers on Easter weekend. His family is in, and he said his family is more important than you all. Can you believe that in the back red hat?
How many, on average, one hose bib will support how many valves?
Probably 2. You can get 2. After that, it's too much hardware coming off a hose bib. Usually a hose bib, you have a Y on there. You've got your regular hose, just because I want to water things, hummingbird feeders, whatever. And then I got my drip irrigation. Usually it's, now if you get really fancy, they'll make a 3 valve, and you have 2 valves coming off. Really, it's unlimited if you can set it up correctly. Anymore, they got those fancy brass valves that come off. You could technically set up 2 or 3 of these manifolds I just showed you earlier. You could have several of those. It's almost unlimited. You're not going to run them all at the same time. You run them at separate times during the day. In the back.
Yeah, I have 2 comments. One, when pruning, bushes especially, always wear a long sleeve shirt.
And a face guard.
And number 2, 3 or 4 years ago, our neighbor had the city come out and check the water pressure. It's 28 pounds. When they checked my water pressure, 28 pounds. The minimum is 25. So they didn't do anything about it, but he had a plumber come in and put in a system, and he blew out one of the pipes somewhere, and he had to change out some drywall.
So he took his, so if I heard you correctly, city water was at 28, which is very, very low. Mostly it's going to be 50, 70. Yeah, usually the city pressure will be higher, and they'll try to lower it. There's a gadget you can put in there to have it the right pressure. So sometimes they'll be very, very high, and sometimes when he adjusted it to higher, he started having plumbing issues.
Yeah, well, he didn't adjust it. He had a plumber come in and put a system on there that boosted the pressure.
Gotcha.
And he blew a line.
Yeah, don't have high pressure, because it takes your water heaters out. I mean, it's very hard on all your equipment. It's expensive. You put that fancy washer in, you don't want it running at 70 pounds per square inch. It'll blow out some problems. You spend $2 grand on this thing. So lower 50 pounds is about right. Yes.
Okay, back to the emitters.
Yep.
The adjustable. I've got roses, bushes, trees. Can I put those adjustable on the trees and the rest on the residential?
Good question. Yes. So her question was, she's got adjustable emitters, but she has a lot of different things. Roses, trees, shrubs, there's just a lot of different stuff. She wants to water a little more, the bigger things, and she's wondering, can I use the adjustable emitters on those and keep the pressure compensated emitters on the smaller things? Yes, that's a very good way to approach that. I'd say that's correct. Don't cut all your emitters off and go all adjustable. Just put the adjustables on things that you want more water coming out of. Still, I would say it's better to tee that off and add several tees or soaker hose would be better, then you're more true to that rating down the road. Yeah, good question. Yeah.
Clarify something about this 25-foot length.
Yeah.
okay, run it out, and I'm teeing off or I'm sending out spurs from that. Are you adding those into the 25 foot?
Okay, so his question is 25 feet of this. You want to go longer or shorter?
No, I mean, okay, I put a tee in there and I
Yes.
run another one off of it.
Oh, got it. So he's running this out to different plants, and he wants to know, can I go 25 feet? Yes. Now, could I tee this during my 25? Could I add a tee and have an emitter here, tee it here and have an emitter here? So I've got a hedgerow or rose garden or something like that. You can do that, no problem. Just no more than 25 feet of this altogether. So if you're teeing and going an extra 10 feet this way, an extra 5 feet here, the whole thing added up 25 feet. Make sense? Not just 25 feet out, 25 feet all together. Okay, you can play with that a little bit. Depends on house pressure, that kind of stuff. But there's some, but on average, this gardener is experienced no more than about 25 feet, you start to have issues. Okay, I got issues myself already.
Large trees or large shrubs are different positioning.
Okay, so where do we put the water? Where do we put the drip emitters? That's the question. Okay, so for a brand new plant, let's say this new euphorbia, super evergreen perennial. Just looks like this all the time. In fact, the flower that comes up kind of looks like a lacy alien life form that takes on this color. It's really cool. Blistering hot sun, it's super drought hardy. So here, if I put any drip emitter to this, I want that emitter to be right on the root ball, because there are no roots out here yet. It's totally dependent on you for watering, year one. Hopefully, at the end of the year, if it's happy, and we've emitted the soil and it's starting to root, it's got some roots. Then I would take that out and I put the emitter outside. If you're going to add drip emitters to established landscapes, now where do we put it? Because now we got a root mass. Where are the roots? I have no idea where the roots are. Neither do you. So there, we don't put them right at the base of the tree. There are no feeder roots. There's no roots at the base of a tree or a shrub that can take up water or food. Those are all anchoring roots. Big, hairy, barky, just thick, gigantic roots that cannot take up water. They're only there to keep the plant upright. All of the feeder roots are out towards the drip line. The outer branch of a tree, out here, those outer branches, that's where the feeder roots are. So they're tiny, tiny root hairs. They're real white, very like hairs. They're very fine. There's where you want to put your emitters. So generally I'll tell folks, put the emitters halfway between here and the trunk. Let's say I'm the trunk and out the outer branch, put it halfway. Put it out here somewhere. Okay? I don't know how exactly, neither do you, but out there is where all the feeder roots are. Let's put them out there. You'll be happier. There's one in the back.
Would you ever put them beyond the drip line?
I would not put them beyond the drip line. No, I would keep emitters. I'm not using my drip emitters to encourage roots. I'm using it to maintain roots. Nature is what makes plants happy. Your plants are not going to be happy with just your drip emitter. It needs to go have nature take care of it. We are simply stewards of that landscape, supplementing or keep topping them off. If we go into a serious drought, your drip emitter probably is not enough to keep a plant going. It needs some actual rain to keep it truly healthy. That's what's going to get the roots to keep going out. Okay, now how are we doing on time? Because I have a feeling we could go for days on these questions. Could we not? 10:36.
The battery's red.
Let me do this. I'm going to go over a few plants just so we don't go over all technical stuff. I'll hang and answer questions one-on-one, and you can feel free to listen in if you want. I'll keep the PA system on, kind of over here. But let's go over. You can't be all about watering, death, decay. Anyway, let me show you some of my favorites. Great drought-hardy plant. You plant one of these, by the end of the year you'll have 2. By the end of 3 years you're going to have 5. By the end of 5 years you'll have they'll be all over the yard. This is salvia. This is meadow sage. Salvia nemorosa. Basically, it's just a meadow sage. Anything that has the word sage or salvia in it, you know it's going to be a good plant for here. Because they're just drought hardy. Animals don't eat this. Javelina, deer, rabbits, it just blooms like this over and over and over again. It's a great little plant. It's as tall as it gets, and then it spreads. So salvia, great drought hardy plant. This is another salvia. In fact, they kind of look good together. This is autumn joy, or what is this? Salvia gregii. The common name is autumn sage. Boy, that's bad when you only have botanical names going through your head, huh? Yeah. So anyway, hummingbirds love this plant. Butterflies love this plant. It gets up about this tall, kind of ball shaped, but it just does this. It's already starting to bloom around town, and it will stay like that through November, October. Sometime in fall, it'll finally stop blooming. It comes in reds, pinks, whites, a few apricot colors, but basically oranges and reds are your main colors. Super drought hardy.
So how would you water that?
How would I water this was the question. I would take the emitter and put it right in the middle. And I just water, probably I'd use one emitter on this, a 2 gallon per hour. And I'd put that emitter right in the middle of this. Also, if you've got some plants like this, some of these plants that are really hardy, like this broom, Scotch broom, the purple sage, Russian sage, when it gets that blue flower in summer and fall, stop watering those things. They don't need any more water. I put those on my system for 1 year and then I cut them off. And here's what I do. I'm giving you permission to do that. I make let me see if I can find my own parts. I carry these in the store. It's just a piece of tubing. But you can take this 1/4 inch tubing, bend it, you folks that are chicken, and kink it off. So, and what'll happen is you'll go, oh, I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to see if it'll do okay. I'll see if it'll do what Ken said. See if it'll still bloom and do okay. I'll kink it off, and it will bloom like crazy. It'll stop being floppy. It'll be a healthier plant because you haven't watered or cared for it, and you'll forget that you actually kinked this thing off. Now, eventually, I'll cut this off and actually plug it. But this is an easy way to where if you just don't believe, you could actually open it back up and turn the irrigation back on if you want. So just a little piece, they just call it a shut-off, or it just kinks it over. So that, you might try that on some of your really heavily established drought-hardy plants. Cut it off the emitters. You don't need to water those anymore. So, okay. Let's keep going down the path. This is butterfly bush. Every yard needs at least one butterfly bush. Super drought hardy. Now, butterflies. Some of these plants, the old-fashioned ones, like they get as tall as like garden sheds. They get huge. Whack on those things. Whack them back. Don't let them take over. Even now, I was pruning my rose yesterday. I didn't get to it. I never got there. It's okay. Whack on them. I cut them back. I'm starting to plant miniature or dwarfed varieties of this. So we're introducing more and more shorties. They only get this big. So it cuts down the maintenance, but they're just as hardy and they have the same flower. So very fragrant. It's also called summer lilac because this blooms when the lilacs are all done. This thing starts to bloom when the lilacs finish. It's a good summer bloomer. Lilacs are blooming right now. This, anytime you see carnation or dianthus in the name, great plant for here. Super drought hardy. You'll notice the blue foliage. It's a nice evergreen perennial. It'll come back every year, but then it does this most of the season. And animals don't eat foliage that's blue. So javelina, don't eat this. Rabbits don't eat this. Deer don't eat this. It looks delicious, but they don't eat it. There's something about that blue secretion comes off where they just don't like the taste or something about it. Gaillardias, echinaceas. These guys are so tough. This is what we add into hydromulch for like road scars, septic systems, driveway paths, things where they're just really opening up the earth and they want to re-veg. They use that a lot. On a hillside where you just want some flowers to kind of spill down the hill, Gaillardia is a great one. If you're a bird gardener, this is a great one because it puts on this seed head that the birds dearly love. and then it spills and spreads throughout the yard. Great little drought hardy plants. And it'll do it without whether you want it or not. So if you're a banker or a nurse or numbers person, you like things neat and in a row, this is probably not the plant for you. This wants to take over and reseed and come up, kind of like a snapdragon. Just starts to come up in places mysteriously. I don't know how it does it. Great. Birds love it. Honeysuckle. Honeysuckle does really well here. If you need a ground cover, or you want something going up the fence, or that neighbor has that pile of debris, contractors, you gotta love them. You want to screen it out, plant this on the fence, and they'll be obliterated within the season. Very strong, drought hardy, evergreen vine. This one's called Pink Lemonade. No, Gold Flame. I've got so many honeysuckles. They do so well. We have different colors. You can have fun with them. Okay.
How do they do in the heat?
How do they do where?
In the heat, like Phoenix.
Heat. Heat. I don't know about Phoenix. I don't care about Phoenix. Why would you live down there? I'm not sure. I think I've seen honeysuckles down there, but mainly these plants are for up here. This one will grow down in Phoenix, but really it does better. It blooms longer up here. This is Indian hawthorn. Comes a lot of different sizes, shapes, flavors, colors, but they're starting to bloom all around town. Very fragrant, pink flower, evergreen. So when it's done blooming, it's got this great little foliage. Blistering hot, very frugal on water use. And I just brought things that are easy care, low water for this class. Okay. Penstemon. Penstemons grow wild throughout the mountains of Arizona. We're trying to introduce, they're so tough, we're trying to bring in different colors. So the red or the salmon color is pretty common. You'll see that just growing wild. The white one or a light pink kind of apple blossom color grows wild. But you can have fun with the blues, different colors, reds. Hummingbirds dearly, dearly love penstemon because it's one of the things that are in bloom as they're migrating back into the North Country. It's a good plant for here. Javelina and deer do not eat this. It's a tough little plant. And then I think I covered everything. Scabiosa, this is a butterfly landing pad. They just butterflies, they cannot resist this. You'll see a butterfly floating across the yard. They'll actually turn, beeline, and go to this plant. And animals don't eat it again. Super, super drought hardy. Tough little perennial. Comes back every year, dies back to the ground, then comes back again next year. And I could go on and on. Most of the nursery is in that, skewed towards that, naturalizes easily. Some are more than others.